don't know if you saw the Fox News interview with Kamala Harris, right? But she made a big, like, let me be clear, this will not be a continuation of the Biden administration, which had a like, when she said it and the way she said it, into response to the question she said it, it felt very like deeper than it, like she was sending a message to somebody specifically listening. And I think that might have been Benjamin Netanyahu. Like, I'm saying it here, but be clear, right? Because like she at that point probably knew he was dead, but they hadn't, gone through the steps of staging it the way they wanted, assuming my conspiracy is correct, right? To your point, like, this is a hell of an October surprise. We got the terrorist, right? Like, had Osama bin Laden been killed this time in October of 2012, like, that election would have been a land fucking slide, right?
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't be worried about the early voting, to your point, because early voters know how they're going. Like, undecided voters don't vote early, okay?
Yeah.
So like that, but they might be worried about what they're seeing in the returns. But to the point, your question, does the UN want Israel to annex Gaza? No, the UN's pretty clear, two-state solution. They lost Europe already and the two-state solution, right? And Kamala Harris is literally, we know the Republicans, like, will let Bibi Netanyahu annex Gaza because they're just gross and racist and disgusting, and Palestinians are brown, and that's enough, So it's very clear in this moment. Like, I think you're going to see in the next 3 weeks, the lead up to election, Kamala Harris is going to talk big two-state solution, right? Like, she's going to talk big. They did what they did, the retribution for October 7th. It may have taken a year and there may have been a lot of devastation, but now is the time. It fits right into her slogan to turn the page to an America with a less toxic rhetoric and turn the page to a two-state solution in Israel. Why don't I work for her?
But here's the problem, though. Why would Bibi do that? Like, there's no reason for him to want that to happen.
Benny Gantz is the reason.
What was that?
Benny Gantz is the reason. Bibi's unpopular in Israel. He's been facing historic protests. He's clinging to power to avoid bribery charges. He's lost control of his government. He only formed the coalition government so they could kill this motherfucker. This motherfucker is dead. Benny Gantz is going to go like on a vote of no confidence, call for elections. Bibi's out.
If that's true, then it works. Yeah. Like, but I struggle. So I was someone who
You're just struggling with American competence. I know it's hard.
It's not even American competence. We're very competent at killing people. We're just less competent at like predicting the outcomes of killing people.
Consequences were bad.
Exactly. But the thing that I struggle with is that there isn't an immediate plan on both sides. If there was an immediate plan on both sides, I'd be with you. But what the White House is saying and what Netanyahu is saying are two different things right now. The White House is saying the war is over, and Netanyahu is saying the war is not over, motherfuckers.
Well, I know, but that's. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just don't think there is communication there. So yeah, like, if Netanyahu isn't going to be in power in the next couple of weeks, like, maybe, but like, I don't see it playing out in any way in the election, in time for the election, in a way that is beneficial to the White House, unless Israel just does a ceasefire. Like, that's the only way it actually happens, if the ceasefire gets done, which I just don't see happening.
Yeah, that will not happen. I'm going to go ahead and tell you there's not going to be a ceasefire. But like, here's the thing, like, it's not going to happen before the election, but it's going to happen, because what you're going to see between now and then is all of that start to play out on the stage. So to the point, we're saying the war is over and Israel saying, no, it's not. We're telling Israel the war is over. They're saying, nuh-uh, we want to play. So you're going to see us say, no, motherfucker, bitch, listen, you're grounded. Look, motherfucker, bitch, what we have a bigger army than you. Right?
But we don't. We could have done that at any point.
No. Like, we do. But the point is that we can be very clear. Like the theme of a new generation taking leadership. This is not a continuation of the Biden administration. We know Biden's a simp for Israel and always has been. Kamala Harris has not been. And she made a very clear point. I have not spent my entire career in Washington, right? I'm not like beholden to the same like interests, especially those tied to Beltway politics, which are very like tied to AIPAC, right? Her husband is Jewish, but not all Jews like just default agree with Israel. In fact, a lot of American Jews specifically hate Benjamin Netanyahu. And I'm willing to guess her husband is among them, given that he's a decent human, right?
Yeah.
So if everything is pointing to Donald Trump is going to lose, because they're making us think it's a horse race because they need us to keep watching for ratings. I think it's not as close as they want us to think it is, because of like if I'm putting pieces together, I'm good at patterns, right? Then that's kind of what I'm thinking. BB, it's going to be Kamala. Kamala is not beholden to the same people Biden is or anybody else that's ever been president, all right? She's not going to deal with your shit, and you've seen how she neuters men when she talks to them. Benjamin Netanyahu is an insecure man, and he's not going to be able to out-talk Kamala Harris. And Kamala Harris is on record saying, if you break into my house, I'm probably going to shoot you. And I believe her.
You have a lot more faith in Kamala.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm cautiously optimistic / hopeful with Harris. But you were confident, and so I like that. I wish I shared it. I do think she'll be better than Biden, but I'm not completely sold. But we'll see. We'll see.
There's a reason I'm confident. If you want to know,
sure.
What is the reason?
It's because the difference between her and like established old guard politicians by the time they run for president is that she's willing to move her positions still. Mm-hmm. And she probably, as a district attorney in California, and as an attorney general in California, and as an age or a senator from California that sat on judiciary, she didn't really deal with foreign policy. She probably doesn't really have strong positions on Israel, and probably her voting record reflects just the dynamics of caucusing in with Democrats in the House, right, or in the Senate. Like, do as Democrats do. Got it. I don't understand this. I trust you. Whatever. Here's my vote. Right. So she's started paying attention to this in good conscience, probably only when she became vice president, which has been a time of nothing but hostility and a very fuck you, Benjamin Netanyahu, right? Mm-hmm. And if she wants to be a different kind of leader, this is you want something to break the race apart 3 weeks in. Here, this is it,
But so here's where I'm not buying what you're selling. Because I was kind of I was where you are right now.
I was there. He was
at the start of the campaign. Genuinely, this is what I was saying. Because she was rhetorically distancing herself from Biden to a certain extent. She's the first one who said, hey, we definitely need a two-state solution. She was the first one to originally call for a ceasefire. She has been a step ahead of Biden this entire way. But then once the convention happened, and she denied Palestinian speakers the ability to speak. She repeated the lies and propaganda about Hamas. She very clearly, rhetorically, incredibly so, sided with Israel. And since then, it's just been exact support for what the Biden administration is doing. If what you're saying is true, and she intends to have a substantially different policy on Israel, why the fuck doesn't she just say that? Why doesn't she break with Biden right now? Because
she's running in the general election.
But the poll, all of the polling data shows that there is more support for a arms embargo than there is for the current administration policy.
Not if you're trying to win Republicans and moderate voters. No, not if you're trying to win Republicans and moderate voters. And that's what she's trying to do, because this is an issue that obviously the far left is not going to budge on. So she can't count on their votes. And there's literally absolutely nothing American foreign policy can do within the year, even if it's from when this started, but the year this started to now. I know we want to think that we have the pull, that we could just be oh, end it now. No, we can't, right? You have to go through certain diplomatic channels, especially when you have complex diplomatic relationships, right? So, if those voters are unmovable and you can't get through to them, you're not going to win with them. You have to win because it's a dire situation. She's got fucking Liz Cheney campaigning with her. She's got Mark Milley. She's got a bunch of Republicans. She's going out on stage. Oh. No, but she's doing that for a point. She's not doing that to say... No, listen, she's not doing that to say these are...
Biden would be good in that case.
No, it's not. Because what is happening here... No, because Biden's position on Israel is Republicans' position on Israel. And... old people vote more than young people, and old people feel very differently about Israel than Palestine than young people, right? So she's trying to win the above 40 vote that would either stay home or vote for Donald Trump begrudgingly. She's going after a very specific subset of voters, and that's why she's not saying out loud the things she probably wants to say. She's speaking general election, right? So I said I've been grading papers all day. One of the questions that the kids had to answer was basically How does a candidate change their approach from winning the nomination to winning the general election? She didn't have to win the nomination, so we didn't get to actually see where her positions would be on those things, with a lot of time to analyze them and chew them. She was nominated and immediately gear shifted into general election. And the correct answer to the question, kids who all got it fucking wrong, is that for one, you're courting your party, which means you speak to the left. You speak to those people. I am the person to represent the party, right? Once you get to the nomination, you move back to the center. I am the person to run America, an America where half of you don't agree with me. So I believe this Democratic Party, but we didn't get to see that, right? So that's like a fair to be skeptical kind of thing. But rest of America, these are the things I'm willing to hear you on.
Yeah,
right?
This is after the convention, John and I had this exact conversation, this exact one, because I said that, when you get the nomination, you sprint to the center. This is what you do, because you've already got people locked up you already have. And but I do. It is. I don't know if it's an easy answer. I really don't. I don't. I can see either one here, especially with the unpopularity of Netanyahu and everything. But the older voters, you're right. The older voters are gonna fall in line with Israel, and she's very clearly made that choice. I mean, she has. Like that's she's not detracting from that. Whether she's correct.
Time.
Yeah.
Well,
It's like it doesn't. It's like. And like I cringe when you mentioned the Liz Cheney thing, because listen, I get that you soften your approach, you try to, because I saw this poll. It's like it's a shocking number of Americans who say that they believe Harris is too liberal, which is just it's weird for me to see something like that. But that's what she's seeing and she's trying to combat against. And oh shit, what was I gonna say here? Fuck, I forgot. John, throw me a lifeline here. I forgot what I was gonna mention, but something about Harris. But
I don't know what you were gonna mention, but I just wanted to bring up that polling data. And I have 21 polls here to support the fact that there is more support for a weapons embargo than there is for the current administration policy. But this is a poll of 1,500 voters by the Cato Institute and YouGov showed that 61%.
By the Cato Institute.
Yeah, this is a right-wing fucking organization, right?
Correct. Famous for push polls.
Yes, it shows 61% in Wisconsin, 51% in Pennsylvania, and 56% in Michigan support conditioning aid to Israel on their.
But that's what Biden did, though, right? He did that yesterday. He conditioned aid and for an embargo.
No, he didn't condition aid.
Well, not aid, but I mean, he conditioned weapon support if they didn't play ball.
No. It was very clear. He did not condition aid. He said, "Hey guys, I may at some point potentially have to.
Right?
Please do this."
Well, threatened to.
He did not. No, they even said, they literally said, "This is not a pretext for conditioning aid. We just would like you to do this." Like, it was the most gentle thing possible. But what I'm saying is, my thing is, like, Biden is a historically unpopular president. And Kathy, you seem to be of the opinion that Kamala is able to play defense, and I don't think so. I think this is a coin flip. And I
seriously wait, like I don't know if you saw, like I legitimately like jump scared to that. Like,
and we're gonna get into some polling data later.
Yeah.
But the ability to be strong, because the number one attack against her, and you brought up the Fox News interview, and there's an important segment of that where the host, I'm forgetting his name off the top of my head. Brett Baier, that's it. He asked her, he's like, "Hey, over 70% of the U.S. population doesn't think America's headed in the right direction. You guys have been in charge for 4 years. What gives?" And she has no answer to that, because she's like, "I'm just Biden 2.0. But showing, hey, I'm willing to break with Biden. I'm willing to be my own leader. I will be change. I will be progress. That shows strength. That shows leadership. I feel like that's more able to get people who weren't going to vote for her out into the streets to vote. And I don't think anyone is going to start voting for Donald Trump because she does that. Like, I don't think there's anyone who's like, I just don't see it, who wouldn't have anyway.
Here's what I'm going to remind you about this. You're watching that Fox News interview as if she was talking to you in that interview. She was not talking to you in that interview. Who are the only people who watches Fox News?
Old white people.
People who aren't going to
old white people. She's talking to old white people. I'm sorry, and TJ, back me up here if appropriate. I might be wrong, but she's a black woman, and they're old white people. She can't come in guns blazing. I'm going to change the way we do things in America. I'm going to have a different policy. I'm going to disrupt the world order. She's not going to say that.
I'm not saying this. I'm saying do something different than
yeah,
Biden.
no. But what it means is, like, to do something different than Biden is to do something different than the U.S. government's foreign policy to Israel since 1948. Okay, like she does. Like, to the other question, like 70% of the country say the country's in the wrong direction, and that's been true since 1994. Okay, like the answer to those questions is that, but she's not going to say that to scare, like, to white people who are scared of a strong black lady, right? You're going to pick the fights that you know you can win. She knows she can't win Palestine. And if she's lost voters because of it, she needs to gear shift away from it. There's literally not enough physical time between her becoming the candidate and the actual election to change foreign policy or publicly take a stance that drastic. It's just, it would cause Hoover much.
Did it, and he massively increased in the polls when it became.
Wait, what?
And then the Great Depression destroyed the world.
What did Herbert Hoover do?
No. Herbert Hoover. When fucking LBJ, right?
Herbert Hoover was president in like the
20s. You know what? Someone else.
I'm thinking of the wrong fucking person.
Yeah,
because Herbert Hoover brought us the Great Depression.
Yeah,
the guy who ran the VP who ran Vietnam War.
Nixon was Eisenhower's VP.
He ran against.
Kennedy.
Nixon. Who ran against Nixon?
Kennedy. And then Johnson ran against McGovern. And then
after Johnson.
After Johnson was Nixon. Nixon
ran against Nixon after Johnson. Herbert Humphrey, not Herbert.
Oh, okay.
I got my H's mixed up. Humphrey.
That's fair.
Sorry. I'm glad we got there. Humphrey, he was with LBJ on the Vietnam War. In October, he broke with LBJ from the Vietnam War, and he gained about like 20 points in the polls after that. He still ended up losing, but it became a close contested election. He was getting trounced. And I think that indicates that you can increase in the polls.
What's hilarious about this, like, I have to jump in. I have to interrupt because what's hilarious about this is he momentarily jumped in the polls 20 points. George W. Bush hit 81% after 9/11. He did something drastic. People responded to it. But what's 1968 and Democrats famous for? It's not losing the election. It's losing their party, because he did that. He came out. He made a very strong stance. I'm going to change the status quo in American foreign policy. And 1968, the Democratic Convention broke out in riots. The Democratic Party collapsed. And we saw 30 years of Republican domination.
That was before he broke. He was for the Vietnam War at the convention. It was after the convention that he broke with LBJ, and that's when he rose in the polls.
Which is when the Democratic Party split apart, and we lost left-wing voters, and therefore the Democratic Party had to march center to find voters, because him, like, it killed it killed the part. Like, that is the moment where the Democratic Party collapsed.
The 68 convention, that was the one with McGovern, right? And McGovern and Humphrey, wasn't that when there was a lot of contention within the party? I mean, it was a lot.
RFK had been killed.
And yeah, it was a lot.
The McGovern Fraser convention.
Yeah,
the super delegates, and that's why we have super delegates.
Yeah, I think the best comparison to that one would be like the closest one was like 2016. That one with Clinton and Sanders crowd, and how like there was a fracture of the party.
They were
like
booing each other.
Yeah, there was like a lot of fraction right there.